Hey, what's up? Welcome. You are listening to TC the G Radio, Season 4, Episode 8. I am TC the G, broadcasting directly from Tijuana, Baja California. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to have a great time. The title of today's episode, Sucka for Love. Okay, so I decided to speak on this topic because I have been having on my mind that song by Tupac, Do for Love, featuring Eric Williams. Excuse me. So I was looking up this song. I was trying to look up the song, and I looked it up as "Sucka for Love," Tupac, right? But what came up was DMX and his song "Sucka for Love." If you guys haven't heard that song, you guys should go check it out. It's actually like the complete opposite of Tupac's song, the one that I was actually thinking about. When I clicked on it, I didn't know he had such song. So when I clicked on it to listen to it, I was like, oh, what? He has a song the same song like Tupac? You know, I was tripping, right? So I clicked on it, and then when I clicked on it, I was like, promise you guys should go listen to it. I was like, oh my gosh. But that's the reason I think that's why I love DMX as well. DMX, he always kept it real. He was always raw. So I can't be mad at him. So go check it out. But anyway, so I also Googled sucker for love meaning, and this is what I got. To be a sucker for love means you have a strong weakness for or an inability to resist love, often in a way that makes you vulnerable to manipulation or bad relationships. It suggests an overwhelming desire for love that can lead you to overlook flaws, make poor choices, or pursue people who may not treat you well, similar to being a sucker for any other irresistible thing. And here's a breakdown of the meaning. A weakness or inability to refuse. Just as you might be a sucker for example, a good deal or a particular food, being a sucker for love means you have a powerful liking for it that can make you susceptible. The next bullet point is a potential for being easily manipulated. Your desire for love can make you lose your common sense, inhibitions, and self-restraint when it comes to romantic situations. Another bullet point, a desperate surge. The term can imply someone who is desperately seeking love, sometimes to the point where they don't notice when a relationship is unhealthy or when someone is using them. The next bullet point says, a tendency to ignore red flags. A person who is a sucker for love might ignore negative aspects of a person or relationship because their desire for love is so strong. Okay, I also looked up, another one of the entries in Google was, Urban Dictionary defines sucker for love as someone who is in a desperate search for love. In some cases, it's so bad that the person is dating someone who is using them for sex or for material gain. They don't even notice and are in need of a wake-up call. All right. So I think I personally, honestly, I can say I have been a sucker for love in a lot of times, right? In a lot of the situations I have been in. Sucker for love, and I know the definitions kind of made it seem like desperate, I mean, maybe I don't see that, but this reminds me of a time I was at the office, and one of the guys was like, he was saying, oh, something, we were talking about relationships, right? And then I was like, oh yeah, my husband, something. And he was like, oh, see, he's like, well, if you say that, like I was making, okay, so I don't remember exactly the words that I said, right? But the message of what I told him was pretty much like, I'm available, whenever the guy, whenever I'm available for love, pretty much, right? Or for a committed relationship. And he was like, oh, like he was saying that sounded like I was desperate. And I told him, oh my goodness, people love to act like they don't need somebody. They love to act like it's whatever, like I'm okay being single, I think at the end of the day, we all want companionship. I'm speaking for myself, I want companionship in my life, right? Or it would be nice to have that in my life, to have somebody I can share my life with. If it doesn't happen, pues ni modo, tampoco no me voy a morir, de amor. But if, it would be the ideal. I prefer it, I guess you can say, right? I prefer that in life. Just like how people prefer, I don't know, pepperoni on their pizza, or they prefer freaking mushrooms. I prefer to be in a relationship with somebody, a solid relationship, a committed relationship. To me, it just makes life that much more rich. The single life is more like a materialistic life to me. I mean, this is just how I see it, right? It's like a materialistic life. Like you're just living for yourself, for your success, what you can do, and that's great. That's no tiene nada de malo. It's great. But at the end of the day, for me, for myself, I really love family. I love relationships. And there was actually a study, scientific study, that stated that the results, right, stated that human beings, we get the most, that we feel the most successful when we are successful in our relationships, not with money, but when we feel successful within our relationships. I guess for some people, money helps them be a better person. Like now I can provide. But it shouldn't be treated as the main focal point. I think it was the main point there. It should be who you are as a person. And your relationships, that you treat people with respect, and that you have good relationships. You have love. Right, that's love, right? When you have good relationships, I think that's pretty obvious, right? If you're having a good relationships, it's a relationship full of love, or relationships full of love. Okay, so I also want to get into the lyrics of that song, right? Of "Do for Love." So this is what he said, Tupac. I should have seen you was trouble right from the start. Taught me so many lessons, how not to mess with broken hearts, so many questions. When this began, we was the perfect match. Perhaps we had some problems, but we working at it. And now the arguments are getting loud. I want to stay, but I can't help from walking out. Just throw it away. Just take my hand and understand. If you could see, I never planned to be your man. It just wasn't me. But now I'm searching for commitment in other arms. So those times that I was referring to, right, about me being, I love I love being in relationships. But like I said, it's not like if I'm not in one, I'm like, dying or anything. I think that's, I'm not saying I'm ugly, or I'm trying to say that I'm not ugly, right? Like, there's always suitors around, right? And I don't take all of the suitors, right? That's not what I'm trying to say here, but like, I don't date them, all of them, or just because you have options, it doesn't mean that they're good options, right? Like, you're like, nowadays, after me going through a divorce, I'm now like the song said, like, now I learned my lesson not to deal with broken hearts, because that's what it seems. That's really what it comes down to. Like, we're trying to force something, That's really what it is. We're trying to force something that's not really working from the get-go. And it's not really because because the personalities, and how people like to make it more complex than it really is. Like, oh, because you change this and you change that and this and that, or you're this sign and she's that sign, like, or I'm introverted and you're extroverted. And I think at the end of the day, a man will do everything for the woman that he loves. It's when he doesn't love her that there's issues. Because a man, he will be the sweetest, the best to his dream woman, regardless of any differences, because they have found the one. I think it's when they have like a deep down feeling that this is not the one, or they're not really in it 100%. That's when things start going south, and a lot of guys, I guess, they get into situationships, right? Because it's not even relationships, it's situationships. They just get into situations with girls just because they want to. Of course, there's benefits to being with a girl, sex, companionship, warmth. If she cooks for you, cooked meals, there's benefits, there's benefits, of course. And women as well, if they're not being treated right, they must be getting some kind of benefit. There must be. It could be money, it could be fulfilling their need of not wanting to be alone. It could be a lot of things, you know. One of the things that I would say, that I would say at times is that, you know, some women, they don't care what you do, they don't. Like, for example, the person I was with, right? Like, I would tell him what he was doing wrong, and so we can work at it and fix it, right? I'm not wrong. It's not really wrong. It's just that we all have a way that we want to be loved, right? And that person was not taking the time to really get to learn the way that I like to be loved. So when that wasn't getting done, and I was trying to, I guess, send the message out of how I want to be loved, it was not received in a gracious way. It was more received like as an attack, as an attack, and that was not the case. But I guess as me as well, I couldn't maybe articulate it as I can now, because you're in the heat of the moment. But overall, again, a man would do everything for the woman that he loves. It won't be if he loves women, because some guys, the issue is that they don't love women. They don't even like them. And I noticed that with some guys, like when I was at work, sometimes like I would say something and some guys would like turn their head and like, whoa, like whatever, like as if they were just like tolerating me. You know what I mean? Like they're not really interested in listening to women at all. And it was just like, that's crazy. Like that's how like that's how I was able to tell that, damn, some guys, they really don't like women. Like they don't even feel that tenderness to want to like listen or like, I mean, it takes a lot of maturity as well for that, so. And I really cannot generalize as guys, it really comes down to the person, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of sweet guys. I'm pretty sure, and just like there's sweet women. But there's also guys that just want to squeeze whatever they can out of you. Just like women, there's women that want to see what they can squeeze out of you, of men. Same thing. The thing that I was doing, trying to communicate to the person how I want to be loved, that's already like I shouldn't need to do that. Like the person should be observing who I am. If they're really interested, right, to even begin with. If that person is interested in you, they would do the effort to get to know you and love you like the way you want to be loved. The things that you like, right? What pizza do you like? What kind of whatever, what's your favorite color? Like getting to know you for who you are. But I have made those decisions, to push through situations that. Oh, anyway, I'm so sorry. I'm like jumping all over the place because it seems like everything is connected. So back to with the oh yes. So I would tell them, like there's women out there that back to that point where there's women that will let you do whatever you want as long as you pay their bills. There's women out there that will do that they don't care what you do. You can go cheat, come home at 3 a.m. They don't care as long as you pay their bills, and they're probably cheating. It's most likely, but there are women like that out there, so I would tell I would say that at times, like there's women out there like that they're not gonna care what you do, but I care. That's why I bring it up. That's why I want us to talk about this so we can work it out, right? So we can get through it. But it's a constant battle again, because people need to first, before anything, learn how to love themselves, before they can really love other people. It starts with yourself, within oneself. And if it's not that now I have realized that's the main thing. Like I have to really gauge the person based on how well they can stand on their own 2 feet. Physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. Financially. How developed are they? Because if they're not, it's just gonna be like a mother-son thing. I'm gonna have to be, teaching the guy how to be a man constantly, and then it gets me out of my feminine. It gets me out of my role as the woman. Now I'm not your woman anymore, and now I'm your mother. you know. And I think there's only, of course, and it's not that I think, it's of course these things come with time, with experience. Sometimes we think, oh, guys, they mature later, and yeah, again, I think we are old people again. I don't think we can really generalize that. It depends on the person as well. But overall, as people, we need to go through the experience. Wisdom is gained through experience, not just through reading or listening to stories or anecdotes or inspirational quotes. We actually had to experience it, put it to practice for us to really gain that insight, that wisdom. Okay, so then he also says the arguments are getting loud. I want to stay. And a lot of the times, that is a lot of what I went through, and it was really unnecessary because my worth, everybody's worth, it's not something that we need to fight about, prove on myself that I'm lovable. And I guess it's our old childhood traumas, but again, it comes back to that. We need to love ourselves, and it does take work, and I think that can also be limiting, me saying that, because some people might be like, oh, when am I gonna date then, when I'm 40? I think at the same time, then there is an element of, it's just life, of course life is gonna be lifing, we have to also live life as it comes, because if we wait until we're like 30, 40 to mature to have relationships, that's not really like that, like, dang, that's crazy. That doesn't even make too much sense. I think part of how we gain wisdom is through those, of course, hardships, having kids. Like me, myself, like I had my son young, I didn't even know myself, and maybe it was not the ideal situation for him, because I had to work a lot and I wasn't 100% mature myself. I didn't know myself. A lot of the times I did have to still, my focus couldn't be 100% on him, is what I'm trying to say, which it's, of course, nobody can give 100% of everything to their kids, but I'm saying I could have been a little bit more there, as like my attention a little bit more to him. But at the same time, again, I was only a child myself, so it kind of makes sense with the situation of what happened, how it happened, how things transpired. And I think the ideal is, of course, have kids when you're a little bit more older. But I don't think it should be like a block either, or like a complete stop, or complete rule to apply to our life either. Just because, well, of course, life is life. We try to get everything right. I think as well as people, we try to make every decision must be perfect and calculated, and it better have the perfect outcome and everything, because if not, we judge ourselves, right? Oh, I got that wrong. Oh, no. And then we get embarrassed with people. We don't even want to talk about our mistakes or our errors or our lessons, because we have that pressure of being perfect. But through we nobody's perfect. Nothing, and I have said it before in other podcasts episodes that nobody is perfect. Whoever thinks they're perfect, they're delusional. Or if whoever is striving for perfection needs to stop it, because that's not how the world works. We are here to, of course, get better, and of course we strive for perfection, but we should already know that that's something that God is, right? Perfect. But of course we're striving to be like God, and every day we're still human. We do our best. Whatever we didn't get right, we make it right the next day, and we continue to go every single day. And there's always going to be new challenges, new situations, new ways of making mistakes, and we need to be brave enough to accept our mistakes, correct them, and then move on. Of course, make the proper changes. I did forget, I wanted to touch on another point that I was thinking about today when I was at work. And I was like, oh, I'm going to write it down so I don't forget. And I was like, oh, but I couldn't find a pen. And then I was like, oh, no, I'll remember it. I'll remember it. So I kept saying the the idea, the word, over and over again. supposedly, según yo, para que no se me olvidara, but I still forgot. So if I remember the point, I'm gonna make a second part to this. Sucka for Love Part 2. Thank you so much for tuning in to TC the G Radio. I hope you enjoyed this episode. What are your thoughts on Sucka for Love? Let me know. Comment, like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay in the loop. Remember to tune in to TC the G Radio Wednesdays at 11 p.m. Tijuana time. Also connect with me on social media to get more of me and my music. My social media and contact information are on the video's description. Again, thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in and for allowing me to share this time with you. Take care. Saludos.